Hey folks, today we're going to show you how to build a 4x8 dry erase board for under $30 for your home or your office.
So what we actually ended up doing for this project is we went to Lowe's. We checked out Home Depot and Lowe's. Lowe's had the better prices on this. So one thing that we got, you're going to need one 4x8 1/8 of an inch board. And you're going to want to check the board, make sure that it doesn't have any imperfections and that it's nice and smooth, not scarred up. Next, we grab some PVC molding, and everything's going to be in the notes, guys, so don't feel like you have to rush and get these. We got 3 8-foot PVC base caps, and that's all you're going to need. You're going to kind of see a little bit later how we decorated the board, kind of fancied it up a little bit more. But basically, you're just going to need 3 of those. The next thing that you're going to want to grab while you're at the store is drywall anchors. These are going to be great to help you secure the board against the wall when you don't have a place to screw in where there's studs. Remember, these are 4x8 boards. They're pretty big. Grab a truck or a larger SUV to haul them in. So now we're just throwing it up against the wall, getting our markings down where we want the screws. This is going to depend a little bit on where your studs are and where you want to go. And then one important step is put the PVC molding up there so you can see where you want those holes to go. So now we're just drilling pilot holes right through the board and into the wall. This way we can pull the board off later, and you'll kind of see how we get those drywall anchors behind the board. Now the next thing, we went in and did a little bevel where these pilot holes were. This way we can get the screws flush up against the board. So when we put that PVC molding base cap on there, it's going to sit flush, and you'll see how that happens a little bit later in the video. And you're just barely going in there. Don't dig it in there deep. You're just barely making a little bevel. You can see how we just lightly are pushing in there. Next thing, finished up our holes, pilot holes, pulled that off of the wall. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to drill into the actual wall to make room for those anchors. So we're using a little bit of a larger bit here. And with this bit, we're just kind of punching through the wall. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and set those drywall anchors into that. Now, what you're going to want to do next is you're going to tap those drywall anchors into the wall. If you have a plastic mallet, grab that so you don't bang up your wall at all. We just had our hammer on hand. But take your time, kind of gently go about doing that so you don't damage the drywall at all. And it should lay flush up against there. Now we're going to make things a little bit easy. So we're drilling the screws a little bit. We're tapping them through the board so that the tip is barely coming out. This way, when we throw it up onto the wall, it's going to match up exactly with those anchor holes that we just put in. And this makes it really easy. And then now you can see we're just kind of pushing it in there, just kind of screwing it in a little bit. Don't crank down super tight if you're using a power drill. Just kind of loosely go about it. Next thing we did is we began to figure out where we wanted our extra screws to go in the middle to make sure that the board stayed flush up against the wall. And like I said, you don't want to crank down with the power drill and crack through the board or the drywall. So we went in with the screw to kind of really get that tightness we wanted, making sure we weren't going to crack the board. The last step that you're going to want to do is do the PVC molding, which is going to go around and cover up all those exposed screws we just put into the board. Now, like we said, you're going to need 3 8-foot boards, and you're going to cut those edges at 45 degrees. Here we're using, our power tool. If you don't have a power saw, you can use a Miterbox or just a handsaw. Just make sure you get that 45-degree clean angle cut. We're essentially making a picture frame. Nothing complicated to it. This is probably the most complicated part of the entire process. So you can see we laid it on the floor, made sure that everything lined up, and it's just a picture frame to go around the board to cover up those exposed holes that we had. Now, next thing we did is once we got that PVC molding, cut it, we brought it back inside, and you can see why it was important to make sure in the beginning we did the measurements with the screws. That way we could make sure that we were in the center of where that base cap molding would cover up. Now we're just making sure before we tap this in that everything lines up and those corners look good, which they did. And we use finishing nails to tap the base cap in, along with a combination of liquid nails. Now the liquid nails will kind of dry fast, so definitely grab a second hand, someone else to help you out in this process. And as we put down the liquid nails, we continue to tap along the edge, holding it securely in there. So what we did is we tapped a total of 16 finishing nails in there, and like I said, use finishing nails, that way they don't stick out at all. You're gonna kind of bang them up just perfectly up against there without denting it. Now you can see why it was so important that we did that little bevel for the screws to sit in. when we drilled them in initially. That way the PVC molding sat flush up against the board.
Okay, so our biggest concern was removing the board bounce. We wanted a nice, smooth writing surface without a lot of bounce, without a lot of clacking. We didn't want any clacking at all. We wanted just a smooth writing surface. We accomplished that. We got it secured against the wall. We have no air pockets in here, so it's a great writing surface to start with. But what I want to do now is address 3 questions for you. And I think this is the 3 questions everybody has. And that is, the first question, what does it cost? Well, it costs $30. Really, $30. We already had the miter saw. We had a power one, but you can use a manual one as well to work. And so, because the only thing you're going to cut really is just these 45s. Other than that, you've got maybe some drilled holes, and that's it. So about $30. Next, you probably want to know, well, how much time did it take? Well, it took about 2 hours, really. With 2 people, it took about 2 hours to make the cuts, bring them upstairs, hold things on, get it on, glue, all that, about 2 hours. Well, the last question, difficulty. What's the level of difficulty? Well, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, probably about 1.5. This is really simple to do. Very simple to do. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is this. What we want to do is we're going to use this thing for 4 months. We're going to write on it. We're going to be writing on there for days. We're going to let it kind of bake on, so to speak. See how difficult it is to remove. See if we can get it clean. And then we're going to come back to you, share with you what our results were. Would we do it again? Is it worth it? But we're going to come back to you in about 4 months. Welcome back. We told you we're going to come back 4 months later, tell you what our experience was. I tell you what, this board has been absolutely terrific. It's so easy to write on. Just easy, simple to write on. Absolutely love the board. Couple of tips though before you go. We want to leave this with you because you want to do one of these. Windex and a microfiber towel. No matter how long it's been on there, it'll take it off very easily. Now, would I recommend this project to you? It's a no-brainer, absolutely. Matter of fact, we're going to build one more in the house. I'd recommend you do one for yourself.